From the headquarters of the Guild of Champions, this is the Chris Terrell Podcast, and I am your host, Chris Terrell, and welcome to another week of your weight loss quest. How did this last week go for you, champion? What new challenges did you encounter? But more importantly, what failure did you go through, and what lesson did you get from that failure? Come on now, don't let a perfectly good failure go by without you getting your lesson. That's your reward for your troubles. Now, if you're new here, I've lost 125 pounds myself after an entire adulthood of chronic yo-yo dieting. Up, down, again, before I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I made some permanent, meaningful, and actual changes to my real life lifestyle, habits, routines, environment, community, and to my systems of belief. Because it's all of those things that create the results in my life. And if I wanted to get new results, I was going to have to change those 6 things. And now I'm here each week to help you change those things in your life so that you can get the results that you want. Welcome to 2025. We are solidly into the year, nearing the end of January, and this is an interesting time of year for those people that are on a weight loss quest. Some of you that just, speaking to those of you that started it at the beginning of the year, I know there are many of you that did. It's a time where a lot of people are beginning to tap out. Life is starting to get difficult. It's starting to become a struggle. Or maybe they're finding the grind of weight loss is beginning to set in. They're beginning to realize that, this is actually work. Oh, yeah. It's not like all exciting all the time. I'm doing all these things and I'm not actually losing weight all the time. And you're finding that, you're starting to wrap your head around what it is that you're signing up for. So to you, keep going. Hang in there. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't stop. Don't stop. If you need some help getting some additional motivation, what I'd like to do, of course, keep listening to other episodes of the podcast. You can keep the weight loss mindset going in your head. But don't forget, I've got a YouTube channel. You can head on over to youtube.com and you can search for Chris Terrell Coaching, and that will pull up my YouTube channel. I'm actually live streaming this podcast episode to YouTube right now. So you could watch this episode right there if you want. Also, I am experimenting with video. If you are on Spotify, you might have noticed there's video. Actually, you noticed the last episode there's video. I'm going to experiment a bit more with that. Might keep doing some video for the podcast here. But I was thinking about, what do I want to talk about today? I'm approaching 200 episodes of this podcast. I have been talking about weight loss on this podcast for years. For years. And I've loved it. It's just been a wonderful thing having this podcast. Hearing the stories from you has just been wonderful. I've loved hearing your stories. And soon I'm going to give you a way to share your stories with me. I would love to know how the podcast has helped you on your journey and how you've used it. So be sure to listen to upcoming episodes as I'll be giving you information for how to give feedback and how to tell me how the podcast has played a role in your journey. But anyway, I'm sitting here today. I'm approaching 200 episodes. I've been thinking about the 200th episode, and I realized I'd forgot to think about today. And I sat down at my desk, pulled out my notebook, and said, okay, what are we going to talk about? What's important? And so nothing came to mind. And so I went and grabbed an old notebook, the one I had from my very first workshop, The Mindset of Weight Loss. And again, those of you longtime podcast listeners, you might even remember when that was happening live. Like, I went and grabbed that workbook that I had, and I opened it up to the first page, and what it was just a little outline of just a few parts of the beginning of my journey. They were I could tell they were cues to prompt me for what I was going to say. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, I actually haven't told my story on the podcast in a long time, in years, in fact. I've told bits and pieces of it, sure, but I haven't actually just sat and told the story. And I can't tell the whole story because the whole story took, 26 months to play out. Like, it would take me 26 months to tell you the story. So of course I got to condense things, but I was like, I want to tell my story, and I have the My Story in a Nutshell episode, the first episode of the podcast, one that probably most of you have listened to, and I listened back to it again, and I was like, I think I could update this. So welcome to My Story in a Nutshell, Part 2, where I say it again, because since I originally shared my weight loss story, I have shared it a lot of times with a lot of people. I've gotten better at telling it. I have a greater sense of awareness around which details are more important to include than another when I'm trying to use my story in a way to help a listener on their weight loss journey. And so let's go all the way back to the summer or to the spring of 2019. That's where my journey began. My journey began in the spring of 2019. I had walked into my coworker's office and he had on this just smoking awesome new outfit. This vest was looking great. This shirt was looking great. Brand new boots, new good looking jeans, I think they were. I mean, he's just looking sharp. And I mean, not that he looked bad before, but like it was very clear, like, this is a new style. This is new. This is great. He's like, yeah, my wife said I could go ahead and splurge. But I thought it was interesting because he had just gained all his weight back. He and I were people that at work, we would, go on diets, at different times. And he had just come off a keto run where he had lost a whole bunch of weight with keto and gained it all back. And he had gotten pretty small, right? And he had gained it all back. And I was chatting with him and he's like, man, here I am back here at 3 again. I've been fighting all this time. I'm constantly trying to lose weight, finding myself back up here. I might as well just figure out how to be happy with it, right? So, got some new clothes and I'm feeling really good about it. And I was just, he's like, I need to just stop fighting this. And I was like, there might be something to this not fighting it thing, right? Like, yeah, maybe I could be 300 pounds. Yeah, I could do that. I don't know how big I am, but like, I know I keep gaining weight too. Every time I try to lose weight, I just gain it all back. It's starting to I'm starting to feel like, why would I diet? And this is where my story begins. Is with me wrapping my mind around that maybe I should just be okay with being this big. Just lean into it. Just be the big guy, find out my style that goes with it. He looks pretty great with this new outfit. Maybe I just need a new outfit or something. I don't know. Let's just stop fighting it. Because I wouldn't let myself buy nice clothes when I was bigger because I was always like, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to lose weight any day now. Any day now I'm going to start, But I didn't want to be that big. I mean, honestly, deep down inside, I didn't want to be that big, but I was sick and tired of all the fighting. I was sick and tired of all the yo-yo dieting. I was sick of going down and just finding myself going right back up again. And so then I'm laying there in bed one night and my phone rings and it's my mom telling me they're taking my dad to the emergency room, that his heart's beating funny and they're concerned. And my dad didn't feel right and wanted to go to the ER. Now, this, something's not right. And my dad's not a go to the ER because you feel funny kind of fella. I mean, this is not who he was. So I'm like, it had to be pretty off for him to go. But I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it till there's something to worry about, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm just worried. I'm not going to worry till there's something to worry about. They'll call me tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be nothing. Well, I don't want to tell this whole story again right now, but let me make a long story short. That next day, my dad asked me to come home so that he could tell everybody what happened once. And when we all went home, he informed us that the doctors had found a 10-centimeter tumor on his liver, and it had already spread throughout his body to different parts, like in his lungs, as an example. There were masses all over it. He had hepatocellular carcinoma, and of course, the immediate question we all wanted to know, well, what's the prognosis? How long? What's the treatment? What are we facing here? And the answer was 2 months, if you're lucky. This is the end. And right there, my world pivoted. It shifted. Things changed. Life was one way before this moment, and then life will forever be after this moment. This thing that happens to other people, it doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen to my family. It's happening to me. It's happening. It's happening. I feel really strongly about this, that I don't want it to be happening, and yet it's still happening. There's nothing I could do to stop it. My dad is going to die. He is going to. And it's going to happen soon. And all of a sudden, I understood how important time was. All of a sudden, I knew how important 1 minute of life is, how valuable it is. And then it is priceless. I understood that. I learned a valuable lesson through this experience of my dad dying, that we all live two lives. And the second one begins when you realize you actually only have one. And it was in this time that I began to realize I only have one life. This is what I refer to as my oh shit moment. I woke up and realized my mortality was now I was now facing it. And I realized I'm going to die one day. And I'm sitting around waiting, and I don't want to die with regret. But I don't know what to do with this, because I look around my life and just so many parts of my life are just not at all what I wanted. Not at all what I wanted. And not only did I look around the rest of my life and see that it wasn't what I wanted, I was settling for it. I was convincing myself to be okay with it. I was being like, this is probably the best you're going to get. Every time you fight to get out of this stuff, you just end up right back here again. Why don't you just give up? Just settle. This is your life now. You just be in this life. And it's just, but I'm like, this isn't what I want. This isn't the life that I want. But I don't know what to do about it. And I just lost my dad, and I don't got the will to do anything about it. And I'm back in Jonesboro at the Chick-fil-A, literally a block down the street from where I'm recording this right now, interestingly enough. June of 2019, I was sitting in that Chick-fil-A, and my brother-in-law looks at me, and he just says, man, I'm worried about you. I want to issue a challenge. I just want you to move for 20 minutes, 3 times a week. Any movement you want, but just for 20 minutes, 3 times a week. And I looked at him, and immediately in my head, I was like, come on, I'm not that bad. I'm not that, but of course, immediately my brain then responded with some voice from somewhere deep inside me. This voice said, if it's that easy, then why aren't you doing it? Huh? Spoiler alert, that voice from inside was me. And so I sat there and I was like, I can do that. Set my pride aside. Set aside the opportunity that I had to be insulted, even though no insult was meant. I could have taken it that way. I could have chosen to make it an insult, but I didn't. I just chose to listen to what he said and hear what he meant, which is, I'm worried about you. Here's something easy you could do that'll help. And I trusted him, and I trusted that he would not give me bad advice, because in this area of life, I value his opinion greatly. And I said I would. And of course, now I have to make good on this. And I said, I think I want to lose some weight. I think I want to lose weight. And so I started small. I realized, I looked at my past, I analyzed it, and realized that I'd made a lot of mistakes. And I knew what not to do, and I needed to start using my past to help me make better decisions moving forward. I needed to not try the same old thing again, and hoping for a different result. Let's not do keto again. Let's not starve myself again. Let's not take away all my favorite foods again. Like, there's got to be a way to do it without doing all this stuff. Let's not worry about the healthiness of food. You know what? I don't know what to do, but you know what I do know? I do know this. Every diet includes not eating unless you're hungry to some extent. Like, they're all kind of talking about it either directly or indirectly. I know, because I've looked at a lot of diets. So let's just start with that common factor that all the diets have. If I'm hungry, I'll eat. If I'm not, I won't. And most diets tell me I can eat a meal, so I'll eat lunch and I'll eat dinner if it's lunch or dinner time. That's it. I will eat when I'm hungry. And of course, I'm like, let's do some movement. So I'm going to do the gym that I said I was going to do. I decided I was going to swim for 20 minutes, 3 times a week. That's what I decided I was going to do. These were my first changes. I also decided I wasn't going to weigh in on the scale, because I always did that before. I always obsessed about the damn scale. And I decided this time I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to obsess over the damn scale because I'm sick and tired of the scale thrashing me about emotionally. So I'm not going to do it. So I didn't. But I knew I needed the scale some. So I was like, you know what? We'll weigh in once a month. If I'm losing weight, it will show up over the course of a month. If I'm losing weight, I don't know if I can tell it within a day or a week, and I get all discouraged when I see it going all over the place. So I'm just not going to get on it. I'm going to get on it in the beginning, and I'm going to get on it a month later. And if it went down by at least 1 pound, it was a victory. And if it stays the same, that is also a victory, because I began to realize something in the very, very, very beginning of my journey. I sucked ass at maintaining. I was just the worst at maintaining my weight at any size. If I wasn't losing weight, I was slowly gaining weight over time, sometimes quickly gaining weight over a smaller period of time, but I was always gaining weight over the period of years, always. I realized I had never actually tried to solve that. I always figured, let's lose the weight, then we'll deal with that. It had never dawned on me ever until I was 34 damn years old to go, why don't I fix that one? Because you know what? If I lose 2 pounds, but I don't gain them back, that's pretty good. Because then I could take my sweet ass time and lose the next 2 pounds and then not gain them back. Then I take my sweet ass time and lose the next 2 pounds. You see, I started realizing the problem isn't weight loss. The problem is I keep gaining it back. I got to work on this. So I started doing that in the very beginning. I was focusing on maintenance, focusing on the change. And so I figured if I weigh the same from 1 month to the next, that's a victory. That's a victory worthy of celebration because I was sick and tired of feeling like a damn loser. For whatever reason, before this weight loss journey, I insisted on looking for reasons that I was a loser. I was always trying to prove to myself that I was a loser for some strange reason. I don't know why. It didn't actually make me feel good, but I did it anyway. And so as I kept thinking about it more, and as I kept thinking about it more, I started realizing that I'm just going to set myself up for success. I'm going to cheat. Like, I'm not going to cheat my results. I can't fake weight loss, but like, I'm going to do something like drink water today. And then when you do it, celebrate it. Pat yourself on the head and say, good job, self. Do it. You know what I discovered? When you do that, you feel better. Go figure. Some people, they don't want to believe me. I'm done trying to convince you. If you don't believe me, fine. If you don't think it's important to say good job on a little win because you don't think it'll matter, fine. You know, but for me, I finally, at 34 years old, decided I'm going to start celebrating my wins. And I also started realizing I'm pretty bad at doing what I say I'm going to do. I looked at my life and I just started going, I'm 34. I'm kind of acting like a man child. Like I just really had to look at myself and at my life. And it's like, I'm playing video games. I'm late to meetings. I'm not taking notes on things. I'm being immature. I'm being emotionally volatile. I'm being selfish all over the place. I'm not standing my ground. I'm not defending myself. And so I'm leading people on. And it's just like, you know, I just looked around my life and I just realized so many of my problems could be traced back to the fact that I just didn't want to grow up. Honestly, I just didn't. I liked living a carefree life, not worrying about the future because I'm invincible. And, you know, I loved feeling hopeless about my weight, right? It was easy. It was easy when I didn't think I could do anything about it. It was easy. But, you know, I just looked around my life and I'm like, but, you know, the trade-off isn't worth it. Because I've kept picking the safe option. And you know what the safe option has gotten me? Not even good enough in most places. Not even good enough. And if I could just get myself to do what I said I'm going to do, I'm willing to bet I'm going to get different results in my life. And so I really made that a focus. I would say tomorrow I'm going to do something. I would just pick something. It didn't matter what it was. I'd wake up with an intention and I would do it. And then I'd give myself credit for it. And I made sure I would do all different kinds of things, specifically things to serve me and my health and my wellness that made my life better, even if it was microscopically small. Just take the teeniest, tiniest step forwards toward making my life better. And as I'm doing this, I'm getting progress. I've lost like 30 pounds doing this. All I've done is just what I'm talking about. I'm just not eating unless I'm hungry. I'm moving and I'm working on my life. I'm working on me. I'm getting sleep. I'm getting water. I'm trying to reduce the stress. And then came my first trial. When I think of my 26-month weight loss journey, I don't think of it in terms of the months. I don't think of it in terms of the pounds lost. I think of it in terms of trials. Because every weight loss journey in the past that I started ended with a life event knocking me out. Be it overwhelm, be it getting stressed due to something happening at work, be it some sort of logistical thing like traveling. There was always some event that would just show up and totally derail me, and I would totally get knocked off track, and I wouldn't get back up and keep going on the other side of it. I would just be done. And so I on this journey decided I gotta overcome my trials. I don't know when they're coming. I don't know what they're gonna be, but I just know they're coming, and I should prepare for them. I should be ready for them. And so my first big trial was the holidays. And I had realized I had never in my life, as an adult that I could recall at least, had gone through a holiday season where I didn't come out of it the other side fatter than when I went in. I always came out heavier than the holiday season started. And I figured if I could enjoy myself, like as in have tasty foods, have some alcoholic drinks that I like, if I could just enjoy myself, but within reason, and if I could end the holiday season the same weight as I started it, that's a victory. Because remember, in my mind, at day 0, maintenance was a victory. Equal to, if not greater than, weight loss. Because I was willing to let that belief system shift take root. Finally. And I'm glad I did, because it made the journey so much easier. Because I didn't feel so discouraged when I maintained. But I digress. The holiday seasons, I wanted to end it the same way. And I did. I'm not going to tell the story of how I did that. I did it. And I learned a lot through doing that. And one of the things I learned about is the way I was doing it, while it was remarkably effective, it was hard to know if what I was doing was working. I had to wait weeks to see if what I was doing was working. And I'm beginning to use my business mindset, my analytical mindset. I'm like, I need data and I need a faster feedback loop. I need some leading and lagging indicators, right? And throughout the holiday season, I had begun researching about calories. Now, I had already set my goal and my intention was to maintain my weight the way I'd been doing it. So switching to calorie tracking during the holiday season was not up for a question. But I hadn't decided what I was going to do come January 1. And so I thought, you know what? As soon as the holidays are over, January 1, I'll start calorie tracking. It's funny. A big part of me didn't want to do that just on principle because I didn't want to be like a new year, new me person. It just happened to work out, right? That's just when it lined up. But anyway, so I decided I'm going to start tracking calories in the beginning of 2020. So January 2020, had no idea what was coming. So you can probably guess one of the future challenges that were coming, the trials I was going to face. But my first major shakeup of my weight loss strategy was introducing calories into the mix and using data to help drive results. But I had 6 months and 30 pounds of habit-based weight loss, where I lost all my weight by changing my lifestyle, my habits, my routines, my environment, my community, and my belief systems. And I had proven to myself that if I just focused on working on those 6 things, I could drive results. But I also knew that if I brought data to the mix and I reported on top of it, that I would accelerate those results. And if I would report on them and analyze them, the results would accelerate even more. And I would be far more able to adapt to what is happening. And so I was excited to track calories because it was going to give me more control. It was going to help me make more informed decisions because I had that base foundation that I had worked on with my mindset. And for the first time in my life, I took a mindset first approach to weight loss and it worked. I lost 30 pounds, but it wasn't enough. I was still plenty fat and I didn't want to stop there. So I kept going. And this leads to my second trial. I quit my job. I'm not going to tell the story of what led into that and what happened, but this was to make a long story short again, this was part of me working on my life. I had asked for a promotion. I didn't get it. So I said, I'm leaving. And I had to leave, and I got another job. That is a perfect example of a thing that in the past would have taken me out, would have stopped a weight loss journey cold in its tracks, and would have sent me back to my old routines. Oh, I don't have time to lose weight. Instead, I took, how can I quit my job and get a new job and lose weight? I began at this point to discover the power of and. Whatever I'm going to go through and lose weight. So how am I going to quit my job and lose weight? And I did it. It was tricky. It was hard. There was a lot of emotions that went in with it, and celebration dinners and goodbye lunches, because I was moving to another state. So I had to say goodbye to a lot of people. And simultaneously, I'm selling almost all my possessions because I'm downsizing my life. That's a fun story for another day. And I made weight loss and through all of that. And then came my next trial, the third trial, preparing for moving. Have you ever prepared for moving? It's stressful. That is 100% a thing that has derailed a weight loss journey in the past. And it didn't. I didn't let it derail my journey. I took, how can I go through a move and lose weight? I had to really learn how to eat out during this phase, because until this point, I had cooked at home a lot. I was beginning to do it less, but during the moving phase, I sort of had no choice. And I remember going like, all right, how am I going to eat out and lose weight? This is when I began really studying people around me that were thin and looking at how they ate out and go, okay, what kind of restaurants do they go to? When they go to those restaurants, what do they order? If they do find themselves at a restaurant I don't typically hear of them going to, what do they order when they're there? Let me begin to model them and take their experiences. So I did that. And then that led to the fourth trial, the pandemic. I still remember that one because I was also in the middle of moving, which leads to the fifth trial, moving during a pandemic. I had to make moving to another state, to Chicago, where they're shutting down, one of the earliest cities to do it. I had to move there in a pandemic with my landlord calling, not entirely sure he's going to let me move in. Because it was a roommate situation. It was supposed to be temporary, and it wasn't. And he wasn't sure he would let me move in because he was scared of COVID. And I'm driving there with nowhere to live. Weight loss is an and during that. I learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot how to deal with stress and not turn to food. I learned how to feel my feelings, to just feel the stress and the worry and just feel it and then act as if you're not feeling it while still feeling it. I had to learn how to do that to get through this. And then in the pandemic, I came to the sixth major trial, which was crippling isolation and loneliness. I had been months and I hadn't seen another person's face. Outside of the handful of people in my office, I was in commercial cleaning. My life got crazy busy, and it was very stressful, and it was very hard. I had people counting on me, and I didn't know how to do any of it. And I'm turning my weight loss into an and. This taught me a lot about myself as I went through that. Knowledge of calories was important, but it wasn't enough to know how to do that. I had to know how to handle my emotions because that crippling depression showed up, and I had to figure out how to get through it. It was there that I discovered that the person I've been waiting for my entire life to fix me on the inside was me. It was in that sixth trial, the crippling isolation, that I found out that I was the one I was waiting for. And I just wouldn't let myself help myself. I kept saying it had to be somebody else. But I finally trusted myself and let myself help myself. And this led to the seventh trial, surgery. I got a hernia. And that was very difficult, getting a hernia and having to do surgery during the pandemic. I had to turn weight loss into an and. I then had to go through the recovery process. That seventh trial was difficult. And then I had to go through leaving another job. I was having challenges at the workplace, realizing this isn't where I want to be. And I think I'm deciding I want to work for myself. Well, I'm about to shake up my life doing this. And so I had to make losing weight and how do I quit my job and start up my own business for the first time and lose weight. Oh, and I should mention the 10th trial that happened at the same time as that one. To make my business have a greater chance of success, I'm going to sell off almost everything else I own down to a small trailer and a small storage unit. And I'm going to move back home so that I can live as cheaply as possible. And I'm going to cut myself off from just about anything for a year and go build my business and lose weight. I had to make losing weight an and after every single one of those. And every single one of those trials taught me something. And every single one of those trials took me to the brink of quitting many, 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 many times. But you see, the difference with this journey and the others was I accepted that I was going to quit or want to quit. And I decided that even if I wanted to, I wasn't going to. I decided I'll quit when I'm done. Let's speak about the done part of the story. The final 10 pounds were tough. I just put my head down and I got into the grind. In fact, when I saw my goal weight on the scale, I hadn't weighed in for a month because it was just so hard to get the weight off. It was just easier just to take it one day at a time and just be like, this is how I live my life. The weight will get here when it gets here. And then one day I got on the scale. Tap, tap. You see, I still remember when I got down to 220, the lowest weight I had ever been. And I got there and I decided I'm going to keep going. And I'm looking at this scale now, thinking I'm going to weigh 170. And it's that counterbalance kind, and it's not moving. Tap, tap. I remember as I was getting close to 200 pounds, thinking, I'm going to hit Wonderland. For the first time since I was in middle school, I'm going to see my weight begin with a 1 in front of it. And I remember the feeling of hitting Wonderland. And now here I am looking at this number on the scale, 168, and it's still not moving. Tap, tap. I remember hitting 100 pounds lost. I hit 100 pounds lost. I felt incredible. 290 pounds down to 190 pounds. Anybody would have told me it'd be perfectly fine to stop. Even my doctor said it'd be fine to stop. And I remember being so damn proud of myself that I did it. But looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not done yet. Tap, tap. I'm looking at that scale there at the end, and now it's saying 167, and it's still not balanced. It's still I still got to go further. I'm not done yet. I remember hitting 180, 180 pounds. This is getting to be crazy. I haven't weighed 180 pounds since I was in middle school. Like 7th grade. And it's just like, wow, this is amazing. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm feeling incredible in my body. I love how I feel about myself. My self-confidence is just astronomically higher. I have undergone incredible personal and internal transformations. I've been set free from so many burdens that I had carried around for so long, and I had dropped so much of my vintage misery and walked away. Tap, tap. 165 pounds. My goal. There it was. I don't know when I hit it, but I know I saw it. 26 months after I began. 26 months and 125 pounds later, I stood in front of a mirror, looked at myself with my shirt off, and said, I did it. I fucking did it. What's next? What's next? Something's next. What's next? And the journey had only just begun. My life has gone so many crazy places since then. The weight loss journey was just the beginning because I didn't just work on my weight. I worked on my whole life. Because every time I reached a roadblock, every time one of these crises tried to take me down, the path to getting through it was I had to level up myself. Any one of these crises would have taken out an older version of me, a younger version, I guess you could say, a lesser evolved version. But every one of these difficult times caused me to dig in deep, find something I didn't know was there within me, and keep going. Every time I failed, it caused me to have to drag myself to myself in front of the mirror and own up to my part and commit to fixing it, and then just to keep going. I had to learn to stop wishing for the circumstances to be optimal because they never were going to be optimal all the time. And instead, I needed to wish for myself to improve my skill set and to work on me. And the beauty of it is I lost all the weight, but I gained all the skills and I got to keep them. And then I took all these newfound skills and I applied them to other parts of my life. And so that is my story. As I said, it was a 26-month story. It would take 26 months to tell it to you, and I left out a lot. But thank you for letting me share my story over the course of time with you and letting it help serve you. And hopefully it's helped you lose your weight and helped you find some belief in you that you didn't know you had. That's what I hope happened for you. I hope that you feel better about yourself than when you first started listening. I hope that you believe in yourself just a little bit more than when you first started listening. And I'm okay if it takes a year for that to happen. I'm in no rush. And to those of you that have been listening and continuing to come back again and again and again, I applaud you because I know you're here because this stuff is important to you. And if it's important to you, that means you're still on the journey. Keep going. We all got to find our way to the other side. I'm doing my best to give tips, to give help, to teach you how to get to the other side of the weight loss portion of the journey. I'm trying my best. But ultimately, I know this. You got to find your own way. You got to carve your own path. You're going to have your own trials, and each of your own trials is going to reveal your own unique set of weaknesses that you need to level up with. And it will be up to you to do it or not. And it's okay if you do, and it's okay if you don't. Because just because you do, you can always change your mind. You can always pivot. It's never too late to get started. It's never too late, and it's never too soon to start getting better. So thank you for being a faithful podcast listener, for staying here to the end. If you like the podcast, consider sharing it, consider giving it a rating and a review. If you want to connect with other people that also like the podcast, you can go to christerrellcoaching.com. I got a bunch of resources there. You can join my free Facebook group. I also have my paid membership, the Guild of Champions, which is the superstars of weight loss, those that are ready to rock and roll and are taking it serious, and they want to have the ultimate group of OSPs. That's only supportive people. If you're interested in that, you can head on over to theguildofchampions.com. Full honesty, the doors are closed right now, but if you put your name on the wait list, when I open the doors up after I'm done with this current batch of new people, I will send an email opening up the doors, because the way I do it, when I open the doors up, I personally take you through the guild. You get to meet with me, just me and the people that join with you, and I help get you started, get you pointed in the right direction before I send you off onto your journey to go find your path. But we give you a lot of friends to do it with and a lot of resources and tools to help you on your quest to obtain the body and life of your dreams. Okay, I'm going to end here. Thank you very much for listening. Talk to you later.